All right, so 4-step process. You need to write that this is number, I don't remember which number this is. Would you say 3? 4? This is number 4. Make sure you write your name at the top somewhere. And this is a generic 4-step process 4. You should be able to fill in that whole part by yourself already. This is a what? And then I'm writing this the way I wrote the other ones. I would have out your one for confidence interval for means so that we're looking at them side by side to see like what parts are the same and which ones are different. And now, like I've been saying, if you put the time and effort in on the front end, this makes things a whole lot easier. Think about, there's literally nothing that happened the entire first semester where I could say, this is new, but you guys pretty much know because it's exactly the same thing we did before. Like there was nothing that we went across all of first semester that was anything like that. So hopefully this makes it a whole lot easier because that would have been at the beginning. All right, so state, again, like I said, you should probably be able to write this whole thing without me saying anything. What does it start with? So we want to estimate, and now this is the first thing that changes. We did want to estimate what symbol? Mu, but now we want to estimate T, which is the true, what's that first word have to be? Proportion. And then write in context. And I'm going to write for population. A lot of times the way you guys write proportions, like you don't realize you're writing for population in there, but you are. So just make sure you do define it within there. And then how do I need to finish that? So again, that makes things really easy. And just like before, should I have an issue looking at a problem to tell if it's a proportion problem or a mean problem? No, it's going to say something like proportion or mean. I have plan. So our first part of plan is what? Again, you should be able to write this whole thing out yourself. It starts with what? So the way I'm writing this is I'm writing this one only for confidence interval proportions. So is there any of mine that's going to change color as a decision to make here? So if I know it's proportion, I know it's the chapter, I don't have a decision to make. So it's going to be a one sample Z, what? And it's going to be for what? So technically the word proportion can be a mean, the word interval can be a test, the word Z can be a T, the word 1 can be 2, but I'm saying, hey, I'm only doing these for this sheet. That's why I'm not writing in different colors. Okay, so our next part is to do what? And I don't care if you actually write the words check conditions or not. Our first condition is what? It should be really easy. We are trying to see, and I'll write this the exact same way you did last time. I don't know how I wrote it in this class. Did I write all stuff in parentheses? How did I write it last time?
Well, I checked that it is random selection or random selection. And it's like specified.
So again, it's easier when whatever you're looking at, make sure you're writing it the same way as your other paper. Sometimes I change it from one class to another just because I'm going off what people are telling me to write. But it's easier if your piece of papers match. My next condition is what? And I'm always going to be checking this same thing for this type of problem. And I'm checking what? How do I check normal for proportions?
Population distribution.
For proportions. And so this time it's going to be n times p hat because we don't have p. I'm checking to make sure that that is what? And I'm checking what else? And that one also has to be greater than or equal to 10. Which part of what I was grading? Somewhere people are forgetting to finish this part out. What's my next step of like, if this were actually on the test and I actually plugged in numbers, then what's my next thing I need to do? Again, I would write it the same way I did before. So like this one would be like in our sample of 100. So you might want to write sample there. And then I have to finish it with what? And for the most part, y'all don't know what with that. Y'all are just forgetting this middle line. And both your tests and your quizzes for all of my classes, I've graded everything except the 4-step. So those should be done pretty quick. Or actually, I've started grading y'all's 4-step for the quiz, maybe. But and then my last condition is what? Independent. Which is checking what condition? And what is 10% condition? And then that one needs to end, or like, I'm starting it up here. I would start this one with what? I would at least start. For the written context part.
There are at least.
There at least, and then just dot, dot, dot. However you wrote that one last time. Alright, so our next part of the core stuff is what?
Do.
What are some symbols that the problem is gonna give us to use in the problem? What else? Not P, but P hat. And then think through the fact that it's an interval. So we have to find our percent confidence. It gives us our percent confidence. So we need our confidence level percent. And we use that to find what? What? Now, I don't remember if I wrote this one out in words last time, but I'm going to. The part that goes before the plus minus is called the what? Did I write it this way when we did the last one? Then what goes here? And the last part is, and really, I can write standard deviation of the sample again, and that's fine. But this one's always going to have to be what? A different word. Because we have to use p hat. For me, it depended if we had sigma or we had s, if we called it standard deviation sample or standard error. Okay, so our point estimate symbol is what? Our critical value has to be
Z.
And what's our equation for standard error? And all that under the square root. We plug in numbers. Now what symbol goes in between? P, because that's what we're trying to estimate. And then we have a lower value. And an upper value. And then all we have left is conclude, which should be very easy because all we're doing is changing symbols and like one word. So where does this one start? Which is and then I'm just going to write in context of population. Did I say of population or for population? Which you are going to change it up in your writing, I don't care. And then ends with what? Now, right after this, what did we have with mean? Do we have that with proportion? Did proportions have units? No. Or you can choose to write it as a percent, but you don't need to. So technically, the only thing new that I taught you today was, hey, if we use p hat, don't use t. And if we don't have P, we can't use it in the equation, so we use P hat instead. Everything else was what we already done.